If you watched the video from a couple of weeks ago where I went over the unique magic stones, that's at least how I call them, but the block, crit and dodge magic stones, you could have seen that there was something fishy going on with block magic stones. So I kind of have given myself a task, let's say, to explore it further down what actually happened, considering that up until the last year, and I specifically remember in December, I was moving onto a kanji, my pet, and it used to give block rate as normal as it should, as always. Now, since the video that was recorded from a couple of weeks ago, in the testing it has shown that clearly they do not work anymore on mana classes. So just to clarify and confirm, and personally to see for myself how much actual block rate is, this video is going to be committed to fully testing out and explaining what happened and what to do actually with block magic stones in the end. So first up, we are going to use only singular one on the monk, and I'm going to put it on my staff because on shovel, as you can see, I still have 2 days left of strength magic stones, so I'm gonna put it on the staff. And this block rate says 61.08%. So when we put this one on, it's going to give, let's see how much. It's not gonna be very much, but from 61.08 up to 61.37, so 0.29% gives one magic stone roughly. However, that's most likely to be scaled down because that's how every magic stone works. The more you put on, the less you give from each next one. So we can clearly see that on monk, block magic stones work just fine, which is what's to expect, right? So considering I have already tested it on wizard and it does not work, let's test it on tamer and a fairy. So I'm gonna pull out a fairy out here, and as we can see out here, block is 0 completely, 0 magic stones, none on her. So let's just put 1, and I did purposely only 1 because those magic stones are kind of a little bit harassment to get materials for them. At least for me, because I'm mostly lazy to do them, unless really the materials for magic stones aren't really easy to get. So let's put on only 1. And it's going to, well, as you can see, it says 35, however, the block rate stays 0.00%. So on fairy, they do not work, clearly. Let's go then over to a tamer, I believe this one. Once again, only 1 block magic stone because I really don't care much, because I know they do not work on mana class. But just to confirm, as you can see, 0.00% once again. And when we put it on, it is going to be once again 0.00. It says 35 block, however, the percentage stays the same. So this is the clarification. Block magic stones, for whatever reason, no longer work on mana classes. I don't know why they have done that, but I do know since when they have done that. And sadly, there was no announcement for it. However, I'm gonna go into that detail a little bit later on in this video, because the main point of this video is how do they impact the assassins. And that's mostly probably the most curious side of all of this. So as you can see for this assassin, it says block 0, however you can already see out here 0.03% of block rate. Now why is this? Assassin has default 3 strength. 1 strength equals 0.01% block rate. It's same for assassin and it's same for monk, basically same formula. So before I do this, I have moved on this assassin my own pet from my monk, because you can see that it has block rate, it has full strength points, and it has a strength book. So let's see how much it's going to give block once I call the pet. And there we have it, 6.83% of block rate. So once again, 3% of flat out block rate from a skill, 200 points on the strength equals to 2%, and 180 points from the book skill, which you can see out here that it gives strength of 180 points. That's 1.8%. So in total that's plus 6.8%, which equals to correct amount of 6.83%. However, I knew this years ago. What I'm trying to do here is to see how much the actually Magicstones are going to impact the assassin. So I have prepared for him a playset. Now I really hope, because literally I did not test this before this video. This is just raw my first time that I'm trying block Magicstones on assassin. But considering that pet side works just fine, gives him block rate from a strength, gives him block rate from a block itself, that should really put him out so that even the block Magicstones can give him. So let's do a round of applying and let's see what it does. Now don't mind if I'm lagging a little bit. That's basically because I need to upgrade my Windows to either Windows 10 or Windows 11, because Windows 7 is just at this point too slow. I get that, but I'm just lazy to upgrade it. So yeah, deal with me a little bit. I'll try to fix it this summer, or to upgrade or do something. I'll just try to be quick out here, so there's not much of a waiting. Okay, 2 more. And let's see now the result. 420, which puts us to 8.87% of block rate. This is what I've tried to test the first time around. So, considering that I have pulled out the old chart from the previous video, so out here I'm gonna put 8.87%, which gives you a total gain of 8.84%. So here clearly we can see that the ratios for how much crit Magicstone, block Magicstone and dodge Magicstone give is not the same. Because if we went by logic, here we have more dodge rate than the crit rate. However, I get more dodge rate than crit rate regardless. Out here I have almost no block rate, but I gain like quadruple the amount of block rate out of Magicstones. Now this is the deal. If you watched the video where I applied the Magicstones of dodge on a fairy, you could see that each Magicstone gave only per 25 of dodge. However, here you can see that block Magicstones give per 35% of block. So basically that's like about 28.6% extra. I did some math roughly like few days ago, but I didn't really, just went to do a quick math equation just to kind of get the rough idea how much the increase is. So kind of I did expect the bigger gain, but not this big. So this is just clear indication that block and dodge Magicstones have even ratios. However, crit Magicstone has its own separate ratio by which it gives. So what this means in the end? This means that crit Magicstones are going to give you more crit rate the less default of this crit rate you have. So basically if you have, let's say over here 37%, out here you might gain, let's say 2.5%, and that's kind of going to even you up. because they work literally same way as the inlays work, as the every other Magicstone works. So, as I've said already, the more you put on, the less you get from each next Magicstone. However, dodge and block rate, because out here I'm just gonna put it, this one is 25 dodge per one Magicstone, and this one is 35 block per one Magicstone. So they also do work exactly the same as crit Magicstones. More you put on, the less you're gonna get from each next one. However, the trick here is that the default that the block gives is 35 points and dodge is only 25 points. So therefore, out here the scaling from each next one is gonna be way smaller than this one. And you can see this because literally the ratio is like 49% to 0.03%, and it only works for 2 classes. So basically, block Magicstones turn out to be, I guess, the best out of 3 for, let's say, Assassin, especially. For Monk, they probably turn out for around like 2%, maybe even less, I would guess. So, overall, looking universally the best ones from the clear gain of the percentage are going to be dodge Magicstones, because you can see they have, as I've said, these two are separate formulas how you gain the amount of the percentage than the crit. Most likely, when the developers did those Magicstones, they were afraid that crit Magicstones are gonna be overpowered, so they had to lower their scaling on a percentage per one gained Magicstone. However, this is basically the conclusion. Block Magicstones work only for Assassin and Monk. Dodge Magicstones are universal as well as crit Magicstones. Crit Magicstones are most wanted, however you gain the least amount of percentage. Dodge Magicstones are universal, so basically you can use them for every single class. And they give, let's say, I guess this is a middle range, because you get a little more than crit, but you get less than a block. However, block Magicstones you gain the most, but problem is they only work for Assassin and for Monk. So, out of those 3, can we bring out the conclusion which one is the best? It's hard to tell, like you would have to really go specifically class by class or weapon by weapon. If I could go just roughly, like block Magicstones would be ideal for Assassin, crit Magicstones would be ideal for staff and shovel, and probably for the crossbow and pearl, basically all dot weapons, damage over time weapons, so basically every weapon with the fire or a poison. And dodge Magicstones would just work on every other case. However, you can also put the case that crit Magicstones can work on a sword, on a blade, or bow, or all of those heavy hitting weapons. So out there you can find very much a versatility where you want to put them. But overall looking, I guess the most fitting one would be dodge Magicstones out of them all, even though it sounds a little bit weird to say that dodge Magicstones would be the best out of 3, but looking from everything that we know so far and what's restricted and what it's not, that's basically the current state in my own opinion. Now granted, everyone else is gonna have their different opinion on that, but that's fine. So I do not know why the GMs have nerfed the block Magicstones so that they only work on the stamina classes. However, this happened in December with the update that we received when we got the basically full set of the Devil Realm cave and the extension, let's say, well, basically finishing of the PvP sets. Why did they not put this in a patch notes? Probably because they didn't really feel like nobody's really gonna talk about them or use block Magicstones, so they have just slide it in on the under the radar. So it was really up to us, as it is last few years that we discover stuff on our own, and the only really big stuff that matters, let's say money wise, because that's basically how game has turning out into, that only things that matter for the basically GM's income and filling out their pockets, that's only gonna be put out in the patch notes or on the site. So yeah, kind of, this is just another case where they didn't really want to tell us, but we had to discover on our own, or basically I did, because I haven't seen anyone talk about those magic stones like ever. Like, even I could bet 80% of people don't know even how to get to them or even how to unlock them. But again, that's why I exist. I'm really trying to explore every single corner of the game that basically I'm sure that nobody's gonna talk about, because that's just where my interest is in this game. Like, I'm not really into the stuff that, let's say, everybody else wants to do. I'm really more into the stuff that's put under the radar, so that I have to explore myself, because I see nobody is gonna talk about certain things for whatever reason there is. But again, that's just what's interesting to me about this game. So now that we know everything about the block magic stones and what's the deal with them, and basically overall with all the magic stones, I would like to let you know your opinions down in the comments below. Do you want to build any of those magic stones? Because I know a few people already have ordered from me crit magic stones, because they really wanted to see how much they are going to get or how much better they are going to perform. And so far the feelings are kind of mixed. Like, there is nothing specific to say like wow, they work tremendously, or I don't know what. One thing I can say for sure is that from my experience, when I used crit magic stones, I used to get a lot less aggro in caves compared to when I'm using now the strength magic stones, because literally strength is aggro. That's basically giving you the magic damage, giving you crit rate, and it's giving you block rate as well. So, and the crit magic stones are gonna just give you crit rate, so basically they're not gonna boost your actual damage whatsoever. So yeah, in that regard, like, I really did feel that a lot more aggro I get. Well, it's not really that I feel way more, it's just plain and simple visible. Because let's say when I do Chillwind Cave, I get to ping pong bosses a lot more when compared to I used to with the crit magic stones. So if you are already kind of having a struggle with the monk, my honest recommendation is just use strength magic stones and you will see quite some improvement in your aggro. So I'm gonna leave the video there. I will see you probably whenever I film something. Like, I'm not gonna promise anything when I'm gonna film anymore, because I became just too random even for my own liking. But yeah, I'll see you next time, and until then, stay safe.